Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Fox Sports.
Last night, Evan Longoria returned to the Rays lineup and delivered a third-inning blast, giving Tampa Bay a lead that the bullpen would make stand. Tonight, rookie right-hander Alex Colomé goes to the hill, looking to pitch the Rays to a series victory. Tonight at Tropicana Field, the Rays and the Angels will close the curtain on their season series. The Rays with an opportunity to win their fourth consecutive series. Right now, this one even at a game apiece. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to an evening of Rays baseball with Brian Anderson, Dwayne Stats. Great to have you aboard. Rays continue to run second in the American League East, a game and a half after last night's victory. They trail the New York Yankees, and in last night's game, Kevin Kiermaier, an important part of that one on both sides of the baseball. We've said it more than a few times. Excitement seems to find him, and it did last night at the plate, on the bases, and in center field.
Well, and if you go back over the last week and a half or so, he's absolutely red hot. 9 of his last 24, a 375 batting average, a 400 on base. Now, here's the thing. He can affect the game in so many ways. He'll show you occasional power. He's got extra base hit ability. I mean, my goodness, he can take a single and turn it into an extra base hit. And you talk about last night affecting the game. How about this? He forces, on this particular play right here, a bad throw from Albert Pujols with aggressive base running. Later in the game, he would force a bad decision by Kyle Kubica at third base that would directly lead to a Rays run, and that doesn't even speak about what he does defensively.
And that brings us to tonight, where Alex Colomé and Garrett Richards will match up for the second time in the last week and a half. Last time it resulted in an Angels victory out in Anaheim, and Alex Colomé thinking it's his turn to come away with a win tonight. You can see he worked 6 innings, gave up 5 earned runs on 9 hits, and Richards, on the other hand, 3 earned runs in the 6 innings he worked. So it will be the Rays and the Angels squaring off tonight at Tropicana Field. We saw that bullpen close it out last night. Good to have options in that bullpen. Todd Callis explores how Kevin Cash will match it up.
for this final game of this 3-game series, final game of the season series. Rays winning 2 out of 3, and Anaheim trying to take 2 out of 3 against the Angels here at Tropicana Field. And when the Rays get a chance to have a lead late in the game, they have a variety of options they can call on in the 9th inning. 6 different players have picked up a save for the Rays this year, and the 3 major options for Kevin Cash. Brad Boxberger started the year 15 for 15 in saves. Then Kevin Jepsen saved 3 games in that recent series in Seattle. And last night, the 2014 closer Jake McGee picked up his first of the season. That's our Toyota trend. And here's manager Kevin Cash about how it impacts who he chooses to close out games.
Managing the game, knowing that we have the capabilities to match up a little bit more than some teams simply because of not having traditional set roles. There is value to having those roles, but for us right now, it's beneficial that those guys are being flexible.
So we're ready for baseball. 10 days ago, it was 7-3 Angels over the Rays when these two pitchers matched up in 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Alex Colomé will try and turn the tables on Los Angeles. We'll hear all the action with the first pitch right around the corner.
Alex Colomé heads from the dugout to the mound as he makes the start. His 9th of the year in the wrap-up game of this 3-game series between the Rays and the Los Angeles Angels. Take a look at the starting lineup for the Angels, presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Eric Ibar again atop the lineup, followed by Mike Trout and Albert Pujols. Cole Calhoun continues in the cleanup spot. Johnny Giovatello is going to move up from 9th to 5th in the lineup for Mike Sochin. Matt Joyce, the DH, at 6th. Efren Navarro in there at left, hitting 7th. Chris Iannetta, the catcher, 8th. Kyle Kubica, the young third baseman, will bat 9th in this lineup.
Well, Colomé making his 9th start of the season. Really battled his last time out. Ended up with a good line. 6 innings, just 1 earned run. Did have 10 base runners in that game, but when it came down to it, he made a pitch when he needed to keep the Rays in that ball game against Felix Hernandez. that they would eventually go on to lose, and looking for a little bit of revenge against this Angel team who touched them up for 3 home runs just 2 starts ago.
And looking for just a little bit better command, because the abilities there, great arm. And the first pitch of this game, presented by Pinch a Penny, is a fastball in at 94, and it's too high. 1 ball, no strikes. Ibar hitting .271. It's fouled out of play, and it's 1-1. See, Ibar's on base percentage is .314. He's not going to lead the league in that department, but he gives the Angels good at bats in that leadoff spot.
Battle a pitcher, he'll lay down a bunt. He tends to get big hits.
2-1.
Well, it's not very often anymore you see leadoff hitters with these robust on base percentages that steal a lot of bags.
Hard to find.
It really is.
You look at these 2 teams right now, the Rays and the Angels, and their collective on base percentage. Here's ball 3. The Rays come in with an on base percentage of .305. It's 10th in the league. And the Angels come in right at .300, 14th in the league. The only team with a lower on base percentage is the team coming in next year, the White Sox. That's a strike.
And that's not team average. That's team on base. Hit
Absolutely.
by pitch, walk, everything.
There was a time when a team might hit .300. That might be the batting average. We're just looking for an on base percentage north of .300 right now. Full count. Here it is. And it's upstairs. So Ibar does draw the base on balls. That's only the 13th walk he's drawn this year.
Let's take a look at the Rays defense and see how it's going to set up tonight. In the outfield, we have DeJesus, Kiermaier, and Souza Jr. Across that infield, third to first, Longoria, Cabrera, Forsythe, and Franklin, with Rivera behind the plate.
So this will be the issue for Colomé. Control and command. And he's walked the leadoff man to get to Mike Trout.
And I'll say this. He's had a lot better control this year, but not as good at command. Not issuing the walk like he has in the past, even though he walked Ibar, but the command within the strike zone has not been that good.
He misses up to Trout. A little message from Rivera on the return throw.
Well, anytime you go up against a team that got the better of you, and it was a relatively short period of time ago, you're very amped up for that start. This is one of the guys that got him, along with Pujols and Freese, in that game. And the leadoff walk did not help.
That's a strike. Trout 4th in the league in home runs. He has 16, and you see that home run he collected in that previous outing that you mentioned, giving him 1 for 3 against Colomé. Trout and Pujols each have 16 home runs. Back into the screen. It's 1-2. Here's Trout connecting at Anaheim against Colomé.
He went down and got that slider down and away and just flipped it over the wall in left center field, showing you just how strong he is.
Shot outside with the fastball a little bit off the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Colomé right out of the stretch here with Ibar at first. Nobody out. Pujols leaning on that bat on deck. High pop fly toward the line and right. Souza still on the run into foul territory, and he falls and does not make the play. Boy, you get a chance to retire Trout, you'd better take advantage of it.
Well, just a fly ball in foul territory. Pretty standard stuff. He's got to come a long way, but looks like he's in good position to make this play. And then things went awry quickly at the end.
Yeah, that'll be an error on Souza. His second of the year. He had arrived at the spot and started to slow down and just failed to make the catch. It's the 29th error charged to the Rays this year. Swing and a miss. Colomé takes care of Trout with the strikeout.
It's a good teammate right there. Pick you up. The fastball up and in, and just cannot get there. You know, the thing that's interesting, Dwayne, about Colomé and some of the struggles we've seen, some of the battles that he's had, you go back, his stints with the Rays have always been short. You know, September last year, he made 3 starts in succession. That's been it. Now, as you're starting to get into 8, 9, 10 in a row, teams have a much better idea of what you're trying to do. And that's where the command and game planning comes in. It's no longer just a start here, 2 starts there, and in and out. When he was doing that, he was unhittable.
Here's Albert Pujols. First pitch is a strike off speed. Pujols connected in the 5th inning of that game a week and a half ago in Anaheim. He was hot when the Rays saw the Angels, and he's remained hot. A little wide with a fastball. T-Mobile game changer is Albert Pujols. His career ranks now. See that home run total among active players, second, tied overall with Mickey Mantle with 536. But among active players, the best slugging percentage. There's a strike. Takes the fastball, 1-2.
And after that first pitch changeup, that 94 probably looked like 97, 98. Swing and miss at that pitch, and then get the fastball kind of locked up. Pujols. You get the jump.
Ibar the runner, 1 out. Forsythe on the shortstop side of second. Fly ball lifted into right, and Souza is there to make the catch on this one. 2 gone.
I don't even think that Albert Pujols was expecting the heater. That was kind of a weaker swing that we've seen from Albert. You know, Colomé so heavy with the slider with 2 strikes, and that's the way that he went after these guys in his last outing. Stayed with the hard stuff, got the weak fly ball.
Yeah, and that's especially true against right-handed hitters.
He almost becomes exclusive fastball slider. Or against the lefties, you'll see a little bit more of the changeup, a little bit more of the slider when he's way ahead. But the righties, it's basically 2 pitches.
Now it's Cole Calhoun, the cleanup man and right fielder. Calhoun had a big night here on Tuesday. All no strikes. too low. Fastball down. Calhoun getting time granted by Ed Hickox, who's calling the balls and strikes.
Some yelling coming from the Angels dugout. I think Mike Scioscia's calling for a balk on Colome for some reason.
Dana DeMuth, the crew chief, answering Scioscia.
Scioscia advised him to just watch the game.
And there is ball 3. 3-0. Mike Scioscia. His team last year won 98 games. They went from winning 78 games in 13 to 98 and 64 last year. There's a strike. Makes it 3-1.
And I believe that was the most wins in Major League Baseball.
It was. They led the major leagues in victories with 98.
Kind of came seemingly out of nowhere. Kind of a slow start by them and then just pedal to the metal.
(3-1). Foul the other way. That's going to be out of play. So we'll have a full count on Calhoun. A little over 20 pitches for Colome here in the opening inning. 11 strikes and 10 balls. (3-2) and a comebacker. Colome makes the flip to first to lead off walk, and that's it. Bottom of the first coming up. No score. Rays coming in ahead in the bottom of the first inning. No score. Take a quick look at the starting lineup for Kevin Cash, presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Kevin Kiermaier atop the lineup. Then Joey Butler, the designated hitter, and Evan Longoria in the cleanup spot again. David DeJesus. Logan Forsythe having his career year so far. Hits fifth. Steven Souza Jr. in the sixth spot, hitting in front of Asdrubal Cabrera. Nick Franklin will bat 8th and Rene Rivera 9th.
Well, taking the mound tonight for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, it's going to be right-hander Garrett Richards making his 11th start, and he is coming off a forgettable outing. You see his season numbers there, but his last start was in New York against the Yankees. He did not get out of the first inning. 2/3 of an inning, gave up 6 earned runs on just 37 pitches, and obviously picking up that 4th loss.
Kevin Kiermaier takes the first pitch, and that's a fastball close to the mid-90s, and that's strike 1. Cut and a miss. A little curveball there in the upper 70s following the mid-90s fastball. And again, he doubles up and gets Kiermaier swinging.
You know, we see a lot of guys do that with Kevin Kiermaier at the plate, going for the curveball, their breaking ball that has the most depth if they throw both of them. We see that quite a bit from the righties, and he was able to pick up 2 swings and misses there by Kevin for out number 1.
And that curveball that he has is not a big pitch for him. You'll see it, but not as often as you'll see some of his other pitches.
And you know, that reminds me of the changeup that Colomé threw to Pujols early in the count. Not a big changeup guy, right on right, but you know what? You give these hitters a different look. You're right. I mean, Garrett Richards got the fastball with the big velocity that kind of almost cuts when it's the 4-seamer. Real good sink, arm side run with a 2-seamer, but more of a slider guy than the curveball.
Ground ball that gets by him. Butler on his way to first, and there's no throw. By the time Giovatelli got there to pick it up, Butler well on his way to being safe at first.
Well, and when you're red hot like Joey Butler is, this stuff happens. You hit a curveball back up off the glove of the pitcher, no one can make a play, and you're 1 for 1.
You throw him a curveball and he hit one back at him. Hit a knuckler back to him.
It's all ball bearings.
Here's Evan Longoria. There's a strike. Richards out of Riverside, California. He went to school at the University of Oklahoma. And is quickly ahead of Evan, 0-2.
And those are the fastballs we're talking about. They tend to have a little bit of cut action to them. You saw that one. He started in, caught inner third of the plate.
Into right field. Calhoun coming in a hurry toward the line, and he makes the catch for the out.
Let's take a look at the Angel defense and see how that's going to line up for them tonight. In the outfield, left to right, we had Efren Navarro, Mike Trout, and Cole Calhoun. Across the infield, third to first, Kyle Kubica, Eric Ibar, Johnny Giovatelli, and Albert Pujols, with Chris Iannetta handling the catching duties.
And David DeJesus hitting cleanup again for the Rays. Stays wide. DeJesus 2 of 6 against Richards. Here's Butler at first, who reached on an infield hit.
I envision one of those 94, 95 mile an hour fastballs with that little cutting action coming middle of the plate, middle in to DeJesus. And if it's down, he may leave the yard. You got to be careful with that pitch to the lefties.
Cut and a miss. That one at 95.
That's the 1+ side. is you do have the velocity that can help you out with the occasional mistake.
Jesus down in the count. There goes Butler, the pitch wide, and the throw down is in time to get him. Ibar put the tag on him. It was a breaking ball. Kevin Cash steps out of the dugout. He wants to get a little information on whether that's a call that he should challenge.
I'll tell you what, anytime you get the feeling that it was a lot closer than the umpire called, you just get that feeling he's going to step out. This one right here looks like it may have gotten it right on the field. Kind of come a long way, but yeah, you got that tag on the calf.
So a caught stealing on Butler. That ends the inning. We'll go to the second. No score. Will open the second inning. He's hitting fifth in Mike Socha's lineup tonight. Will be followed by Joyce and then Navarro.
And here's your thing: your second leadoff man, second inning leadoff man.
Well, a good manager like Socha must know that. Little comebacker to the hill on the fastball, and he's retired on one pitch.
Well, I know that you and I, in looking at their lineup before the game, were suspecting some internals, some numbers that on the inside.
Socha apparently likes the matchup, and Colomé thwarted that move, getting him on the first pitch here in the second.
That's why we play the games.
Yep. Got to go out, play him.
Can have great plans.
Make the pitch. Matt Joyce, I want to know the count. Not the first time Gio Patella has been up in that fifth spot, so apparently a couple other times enough success with the matchups he saw that night.
He sends him down in that 9-hole, gets him motivated, gets him hot, and then now bump you up. And we see that a lot. We've seen that with the Rays lineup. Any combination, you're trying to put something together. Neither of these teams have been really tearing the cover off the baseball.
And that's true across the board.
Yep.
With the exception of just a couple of teams, the offense has not been a consistent part of the game this year.
Dwayne, I can remember when I was starting out with you, and you would talk about the fact that to compete in the American League East, you needed to average at least 5 runs a game. There's
right.
one team that's over 5, and they're barely over 5.
That's right. I mean, 4 is a magic number now.
Oh, you're a juggernaut.
2-2 to Matt Joyce. These two clubs, you know, the Rays obviously have struggled. They've been challenged to score runs. They're 13th in the league. You think of the Angels, you start with Trout and Pujols in their lineup. They're 11th in the league in runs scored. Calhoun behind them, behind those two guys. He's been good with men in scoring position. So,
David Freese.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got hitters. It's been tough. It's been tough all around.
Two, the count to Matt Joyce. And now the count is full. David Freese not in the lineup again tonight. He's on a little hamstring issue. They brought Kubica in from the minor leagues from Salt Lake, and he's in the lineup again tonight at third with Freese in the dugout. And ball 4 is upstairs. And there's a 1-out walk to Joyce. Well, our lows never stop improving. See, the game's allowing 2 runs or fewer where the Rays are, and they're back at the point where half of their games through the front 60, they've allowed 0, 1, or 2 runs.
And look at some of the years on this list: 81, 83, 89. I mean, what they're doing, it's beyond impressive. And this is, by the way, with a depleted pitching staff and 6 different members of it at one time or the other that have recorded a save.
Yeah, that's an amazing part of this Rays story this year. Over to first and back in is Joyce. You know, you continue to look forward because the Rays figure they're going to get Odorizzi back, and they're thinking that the injury is not as serious as it could have been. Matt Moore continues to make steady progress. Pitch is high to Navarro. I ran into Matt Moore on the way in today, and he's very optimistic.
Parking lot or tunnel?
Well, actually both. Parking lot first,
into the
tunnel. Yeah.
It's you.
And he is very pleased with the progress he's made and feeling pretty optimistic. That's good news.
It is, and you could see that from his last line and a little bit of the video that we saw. It looked like vintage Matt Moore. You know, he looked comfortable on the mound, which is always something that you wonder. And he had a good line through his pitches, completed the innings.
Yeah, and like the velocity, you know, he was up 91, 92, 93, and thinks there's more to come.
Arm strength.
Yep.
And that's what he's building right now. And the stronger that arm gets, the more work it takes on, that velocity will absolutely increase.
1-1 the count to Navarro. Way upstairs. It's 2-1 to visit to the mound for Rivera.
Yeah, understandably, you know, a couple of walks already for Colomé. You know, he came into this ball game with just 11 on the season, 2 already, and some bad misses. So you've got your pitching coach on the field right now, Rene Rivera, out there giving him some advice, trying to calm him down and get him right.
And Rivera has been active that way right from the get-go this year, which has been great to see. He's not hitting what he hopes to finish the year with, but he's done such a job behind the plate. He's throwing runners out, and he's with pitchers pitch by pitch. That's Joyce, the runner at first. Top half of the second. Ground ball, foul outside of first. So the count is 2-2. Joyce, just now realizing that was a foul ball, heads back to first.
There was a good number of fans that didn't realize that was a foul ball. A lot of cheers for that play right there by Nick Franklin.
2-2 the count on Navarro. And the count is full. Well, he had a full count on Ibar in the first, walked him. He went 3-2 to Calhoun, got him on the comebacker. 3-2 to Joyce here in this inning, walked him. Now 3-2 to Navarro with Chris Iannetta, the catcher, on deck. Runner goes and the pitch is fouled with the Rays dugout. We'll see another 3-2 pitch to Navarro. Navarro up there with a pretty good approach at the plate. He's been up and down. This is the third time he's been up with the Angels this year. Dividing time between the Angels and the Bees in Salt Lake.
But just has not been able to consistently apply what he's done with Salt Lake to the big leagues, because he goes down there and
it's 370 down there.
Is that good? And 370. We have on base percentage at 305.
Runner goes again. Ground ball second. A look there by Forsythe, but he'll go to Franklin at first. Joyce in motion moves into second. Stays away from a potential double play. Navarro out of there. 2 gone. Make Family Fun Day extra special Sunday, June 14th, with a Father-Daughter Day ticket package. Purchase tickets to this special event to receive a seat in the lower level and a Rays Father-Daughter Day item. For tickets, visit raysbaseball.com/special events. Chris Iannetta, the veteran catcher. Cut the miss. Iannetta, 32 years old, hitting 169, 3 home runs. He did a little over 250 last year with 7 home runs. Right back into the screen, 0-2.
Yeah, if you look at the scouting report on Chris Iannetta, he's a dead fastball hitter. He struggles with breaking balls and will expand the zone. Well, runner in scoring position right now. What does column A come out? 2 breaking balls back to back, up in the count 0-2. Now, if he's going to go with another one here and expand that zone, we've seen him sometimes leave some 2 straight breaking balls on the plate. Those don't always end up well.
Yeah, he's got a lot of options now in terms of location. And a swing and a foul tip. Just a little foul ball right there. He threw him a fastball with a little extra on it.
And that's not a bad pitch either. You just want to make sure that pitch is where it was. And now you can either double up on that pitch or you can go right back to that slider. And if you start the slider in the position that fastball ended up, this inning will be over.
How about that shot of the phantom cam of that foul ball in and out of the mitt? Out of play.
See, you go back and look at that location. I think that Rene Rivera is telling him that right now. That's an 0-2 slider that just was flat and right out over the plate. You got to take that pitch from the outer third and take it off. Watch where this thing. I mean, that's not an 0-2 breaking ball that you want to throw very often or ever. Count still 0-2.
Iannetta granted time by Ed Hickox. Cutting a miss. He strikes him out with a fastball. And again, a walk and a man left. No score through an inning and a half. Is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. By Morgan Auto Group. Megan Morgan, we make it happen. Rays in the Trop tonight. Headed into the bottom of the second, no score. Well, a couple innings under Colome's belt, trying to settle in and find the groove, but so far a couple of walks and no more damage. David DeJesus will lead off the bottom of the second. He was at the plate when Butler was caught stealing to end the first. Pitch foul back, strike one. Rays sent Butler, but he was thrown out trying to steal. Watching Iannetta fire the ball down to second base before this inning started might be another reason for the Rays to continue to try to send runners. One strike to count. This one wide, 1-1. You know, you throw the ball down to second base, routine. And he literally airmailed it into center. Giovatello there to receive it, had no chance. Take a look.
Yeah, and it wasn't high. It was just 8 to 10 feet wide of the bag. He threw it to shortstop.
That's one of those. Throw it to shortstop and see if you can get the guy trying to, you know, double steal or something.
Well, you wonder too. I mean, David DeJesus got kind of a free look at Garrett Richards. You know, seeing a couple of pitches before that stolen base attempt, then you get thrown out. Now you're right back up there. Pretty good idea of release point, all that other stuff.
Yeah, so he's 2-2 here. He's really 8 pitches into his first at bat.
With a few minutes to digest exactly what he saw the first time around, which is just a few minutes ago.
If anybody could make good use of that, it would be DeJesus.
Understands the game, that's for sure.
Pop fly short left. It's Efren Navarro making the catch. One away.
Second baseman, number 11.
It's Logan Forsythe up there. Well, Richards coming off that start you mentioned in New York. You have a start like that, you can't wait to get out there again.
Oh, yeah.
Those days in between can't go fast enough.
And they do. They go really slow. they absolutely drag by. I mean, I've had some really, really bad outings in my career. I don't know if I've ever, not gotten out of the first, but there've probably been a few in the second. I mean, it's a horrible feeling. You talk about a wasted day, and then you got to wait 5, and if there's an off day, maybe 6. The 6th day before you get back out there, I'll tell you, you put a lot of work in, trying to figure out what the deal was.
World just doesn't seem right, does it?
No. And when this game, starts for you and you're out there, you talk about max effort from pitch 1. You got a lot of pent up frustration and anger, that's for sure.
It's a ball, 2 strikes now to Forsythe. The Rays saw Richards on the first day of June. They got 3 runs in 6 innings plus off him, including the home run by Nick Franklin. Two balls, 2 strikes, the breaking ball too low. See his lifetime number against the Rays, the ERA of 5.02 in 3 prior starts, winning 2 of those, losing 1. Upstairs and a full count. Three and 2 to Forsythe with Steven Souza Jr. on deck. See another 3-2 pitch. And there's ball 4. So a 1-out walk sends Forsythe to first. They'll come love your team like crazy when the Rays take on the White Sox this weekend and Saturday at 4:10. Be sure to stick around postgame for the concert with popular country singer Lee Brice. Sing along to his top hits, including Love Like Crazy and I Don't Dance. For tickets and concert on-field access wristbands, visit RaysBaseball.com/concerts. Souza Jr. fouls it. Strike 1.
Well, right now, really both pitchers trying to get in the groove. The deliveries have not been repeated very often. You get the feeling that throwing back-to-back strikes is somewhat of a chore right now. It'll be who settles in first may decide this game, if either of them settle in.
Souza foul the other way, and now he's behind in the count. 0-2. Richards was a 13-game winner last year for this team. He was 13-4 in 26 starts, so something of an abbreviated season for him. He suffered a tendon injury. And that was about the middle of August last year. Fly ball deep right. Calhoun to the wall. Gone. Home run for Souza Jr. on an 0-2 fastball. Souza hits it out of here, and the Rays lead 2-0.
Well, what offense is going to capitalize on the inconsistent pitching here so far early in this ball game? And Steven Souza Jr. gets one of those fastballs that has that cutting action, middle of the plate, moving away, and he just sends it that way with authority.
Home run number 12 for Souza Jr. An opposite field blast. Well, that's the pitch you talked about in the first inning, and he got one up and caught a lot of the plate.
Well, and again, the count 0-2. I mean, 0-2 pitches cannot find that part of the strike zone. I know, listen, you're not perfect out there. I get it, and you're going to make mistakes, but we've seen a number when they've been fortunate enough to get to 0-2. Pitches way too hittable, way too hittable.
Well, the one pitch that Colomé made in the top of the inning was a little scary, and he got away with it. Souza didn't let Richards get away with this one.
That's exactly right. And that allows the Rays to jump out.
1 ball, 2 strike count to Cabrera.
That goes back to when you talk about command. He threw an 0-2 strike. That not command. Command, you don't want an 0-2 strike. You want something that appears to be a strike, like that.
Cabrera misses, ball popping away, but Iannetta with a toss down to first completes that strikeout.
Yeah, that's what you do when you put a hitter on the defensive in an 0-2, 1-2 count. Now they're looking, they've got to protect, so they're antsy to swing and stay in it. You throw that curveball, that breaking ball right there, and it comes out of your hand, looks like a strike. As a hitter, you're like, okay, I got to make my mind up. You start your swing, all of a sudden it starts its break. That's what you talk about. That's why when you're fortunate enough to get into those 0-2, 1-2 counts, you have the hitter. You've got him pretty good.
There's Nick Franklin, who homered off Richards in Los Angeles over in Anaheim. I want to know the count. Franklin ahead. 2 balls, no strikes. Two and one. Three balls and a strike. The count to Franklin. Well, you're right. Both these pitchers trying to settle in. He has fallen behind Franklin. So that fastball with that little movement right there at the end. The count is full.
Well, and Nick Franklin kind of pulled off that. He has a tendency to do that sometimes from the left side. That backside will start to leak down the first base line.
The chopper toward the middle. Giovatello with the throw to first, and that's not in time. He one-hopped it in. Ibar might have had the better shot.
He did because of momentum. You know, you got Johnny Giovatello cutting in front of Eric Ibar, moving towards third base, trying to throw back to first, where Ibar is moving right across, fields that ball and can just toss it over there. That's much tougher throw and play for Giovatello, and he doesn't make it in time.
So Nick Franklin with an infield hit.
I think Eric Ibar's body language told you that he felt he should have been able to make that play.
Big cut and a miss by Rivera. That opening fastball, and he was trying to jump on it. Rays with 2 runs home on the home run by Steven Souza Jr. Ground ball headed toward the middle. Giovatelli makes the throw back to first in time to retire the Rays, but they come up with 2 on the walk to Forsythe, and an opposite field home run by Steven Souza Jr. through 2-0 Rays.
Nothing. You look on at Kevin Cash. Now, Kevin has dealt with more injuries than any other team in baseball, and in a collaboration with the Vice President of Communications, Rick Vaughn, and Kevin himself, they decided rather than take questions every day from the media on exactly what's going on with each player, why not put a dry erase board up? And there you see it. No further questions. Each guy has what's going on for that day. In fact, today, the update on Drew Smiley is he starts his sock throws today, guys. It had Desmond Jennings on there, Jake Odorizzi on there, James Loney. You name it. The injured player updates will be on there daily with the dry erase board. And that way Kevin Cash can talk baseball and not injuries. But how about Smiley starting on the rehab with sock throws today?
Yeah, well, you know what? He's gonna reenact Cy Young's last game.
When they played the game,
yeah,
the rolled up sock. Diving stop by Franklin. Colomé covers Kavitz's out number 1.
He's throwing a simulated against the Brooklyn Superbas is what he's doing. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's one step back. Move in the right direction. Throw that rolled up sock well.
It just shows you that Kevin Cash is a baseball historian. Let's take him back to the good old days when they played with a sock and get him started back to where they play with the real ball now.
One step at a time. Yep.
That was just too easy. I mean, that was so exciting to see. Sock throw.
Yeah.
This is happening.
And that was the dead sock era. Not a lot of sock in that era either. 1-0 the count to Eric Ibar. Ibar walked his first time. Lines this one into right. And Souza Jr. there to make the catch. 2 gone. So a couple of quick outs here in the third in contrast to the first couple innings. And you'd love to see Colomé get comfortable enough where he could pick up his pace a little bit.
Sometimes, the wheels are spinning and they're not quite getting that traction, and it takes you. You try to do what you can to minimize the damage or do away with any kind of damage, fight your way through a couple of innings, and then things start to fall into place. Now, out there pitching with a lead, too, doesn't hurt.
Good cut by Trout. He missed the fastball.
It kind of reminds us, of his last outing. He went 6 strong innings as far as giving up 1 earned run. But he had 10 base runners.
Yep.
He was dealing with trouble quite a bit, but kept finding his way out of it and doing a nice job when the chips were down. And he ends up with a real nice line.
Chopper right side. He's going to have to get over there. And he, with that late start, allows Trout to reach.
You know what? I don't think that Alex Colomé had any idea of the defensive setup, because that off the bat is your typical ground ball to second base. Now, you should still be heading that way, but he just got caught thinking that this was going to be a 4-3 end of the inning. And by the time he realized that they had the shift on, too late.
Yeah, he's not going to outrun this guy.
No.
So Trout's aboard. And that goes as an infield hit. That would have been interesting with Trout going down the line, even with an immediate break by Colomé.
Oh, that would have been more fun to watch.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It would have been very interesting over there.
If you've got any kind of athletic ability, if you get off the mound immediately and make a beeline, as long as that ball got out to Nick Franklin quick enough, they'd have had a real good shot at getting them. But if you force the infielders in to have to charge that play, that's when you're going to get outrun regardless.
Here's Albert Pujols with Trout at first. And the pitch is chopped down to third. Longoria makes this routine play. No harm done. A man left, and we go to the bottom of the third. 2-0 Rays. Is brought to you by Checkers. Get Checkers authentic Philly cheesesteak or try the new meatball sub. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. And by the Florida Department of Transportation, reminding you to drive sober or get pulled over. 2-0 Rays lead, moving into the bottom of the third. Both runs coming on the home run by Steven Souza Jr. in the bottom of the second. We're not sure, but Alex Colomé may have gotten pulled over in the top of the first by Dana DeMuth for going to his mouth with his pitching hand just before he got Albert Pujols on that little chopper to third.
Well, we've seen that be an issue with Alex before. I think it was in his last start at home a couple starts ago where he was assessed a ball for doing the same thing.
And I think it was Dana DeMuth, the crew chief here, who's at second base tonight, came up before he made that pitch to Pujols and got his attention, gestured toward him. He threw the ball away, and then with a little chop, and that's going to be tough if it's fair, but it's a foul ball. 2-1. Let's take a look again just for the record to see. He's wiping something, and I don't know if he goes to his mouth or not. Oh, he went to his mouth right there.
On the rubber.
And that's when DeMuth said, wait a minute. And he would have then assessed a ball. And they had him throw the ball out, and then he made the next pitch. So technically, Pujols went out on a 1-0 count.
Well, and technically, that's not exactly a foreign substance, since how it's coming from your own body. So good on that front, too.
Yeah, it's not a foreign substance.
Not at all.
You might want to argue that case, be a good defense attorney. 3-2 now to Kiermaier. Kiermaier, the leadoff hitter for the Rays, beginning the third. Butler next, and then Longoria, which is fouled away. And that may have been what was going on in the first inning of this game.
I think that you're absolutely right about that, because certainly Mike Scioscia was yelling out to the home plate umpire, Ed Hickox, get his attention, and also out to Dana DeMuth. And I'm sure that there was some talk in between innings. Hey, you might want to take a look at this.
The looper, and out goes Ibar to make the catch, retreating from shortstop. First out in the home half of the third. Well, it's Joey Butler. Butler with an infield hit his first time. Rays have 2 runs, 3 hits, and the Angels no runs, 1 hit on the scratch hit chopper by Trout. A big cut, that pitch coming in on Butler. 1 strike to count. Now it's 0-2. Now the Rays and the Angels. The White Sox are going to be in over the weekend. It's a ball and 2 strikes, and the Rays are waiting until after the game tonight to announce who will start for them tomorrow. Chris Archer is going to pitch in the game on Saturday. That's a 4:10 first pitch. And Nathan Carnes will pitch on Sunday.
Yeah, and that game on Saturday, Archer, Samardzija, Chris Sale's going to go on Sunday.
Yeah,
so you're
some
going to
good pitching here.
Yep. And you got a grab bag tomorrow night, and that'll all depend on how long Colomé goes and what, who is used out of the bullpen for how long, and then assess what their options are going forward.
Yeah, and Archer will be going for his 8th win on Saturday, and the way he's been pitching, it's a real treat to watch him.
He's still on that run. I mean, historic run. I mean, the first guy, absolutely amazing. Since they've been keeping records in this game, the first one with double-digit strikeouts and no walks in 3 consecutive starts.
And look at his season strikeout to walk total. 108 strikeouts, 20 walks. Yeah, that's something that didn't occur even in the roll-up sock era that you like so much.
It's tough to get a lot of velocity with the sock. There's not a lot of bounce off the bat, but it's tough to create a ton of velocity.
And what kind of break can you get on a sock?
Not much. That's why you had the drop ball and the straight ball. You just pinch that sock on the bottom and throw it like that, and that would give you your drop. and then your four-seam, two-seam, they were basically the same pitch. Not a lot of movement, not a lot of velo, but again, you had to hit it solid just to kind of poof one out there into the outfield.
This moment in baseball history presented by Professor Brian Anderson.
Baseball historians right now are not real happy with what's going on up here.
Yeah, J.R. Reynolds, the baseball historian we frequently run into on the West Coast, would not be happy either. 2-2 the count. Butler reaching out to foul that one away.
It's all in good fun.
Best thing to have, fun.
If you got to come to the ballpark and do what these guys are doing every single day, all day long with their teammates, you got to be able to have fun.
Yep.
And they do. And then they go out and they play a ball game and they have fun doing that. Same thing here. Same group every day, all the time. If you can't make it fun, then why do it?
Yeah, it's like that little bullpen or dugout chatter that goes on from time to time. And that's what we do. We're paid to chatter. I'm not sure if this is the kind of chatter that we want all the time, but it is what it is.
You pick your spots. There's nothing going on. This at-bat's taking forever.
And a cut in the miss. He strikes out. So that's out number 2. 11 pitches. And we talked our way through that one. Rays fans, every Thursday will be Throwback Rays Day, brought to you by Chrysler. Submit the best vintage photo of yourself by using the hashtag #ThrowbackRays.
Some throwback gear right there. The rainbow.
Some entries. Here's Evan Longoria. Pitch is a strike around the knees. Evan lifted a fly ball into right his first time up. Into the dirt, and it's 1-1. Rays trying to win the season series from the Angels. They're up 3-2 right now. It's 1-2. Well, our GMC big matchup. You see what happens when Trout produces. The Angels win, and when Longoria produces, the Rays win.
And that not too big of a surprise there. I saw a note that said when Evan Longoria drives a run in, the Rays are 16-2.
He's out on strikes, back-to-back strikeouts for Richards. Rays lead 2-0. Hitting Thursday, June 18th, an American tradition comes to Fox and Fox Sports 1 for the first time as the greatest golfers in the world converge on the Pacific Northwest for a chance to stamp their names in the history books. Our exclusive coverage of the 115th U.S. Open Championship live from Chambers Bay Golf Course begins June 18th on Fox Sports 1, Fox, and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Alex Colomé ready to open the fourth against the cleanup hitter, Cole Calhoun. The first pitch is a strike. A couple walks, a couple strikeouts, and a hit allowed through the first 3 innings. First couple innings lengthy for Colomé, and then the 7-pitch third helped. Ground ball right side. Franklin back to cover first. Colomé started in that direction, and with the shift on, Longoria took care of that.
Quick study. That's exactly right. I mean, you can always ease up and pull off, but the instinct should be ground ball to the right side. Should be at least an initial break off the mound, because if you do have an inexperienced first baseman, maybe he gets caught in no man's land. You're just covering all the angles.
Yeah, and you could see with that possibility with the inexperience over there could be some indecision.
Absolutely.
So get over there and help out. And if you can't help out, then you get out of the way.
That's it. And it won't take you very long to make the determination. You look, you see everybody's where they're supposed to be, and the ball's going to be fielded, then that's it. Then you pull up and get ready for the next hitter.
First pitch strike to Giovatello. He was out pitcher first, his first time up. One and one. The Rays have dropped their average game time significantly this year. They've gone from 319 to 255. That means last year they were the slowest team
in the history.
Yeah. Line drive into left, a one-hop base hit, and a one-out single for Giovatello. So they've gone from the slowest team, and now they've gone from 30 in terms of time, whichever way you look at it, but 30, they would be in last place in terms of thrift and swiftness. And so now they're 12th. So that's a big move in the right direction for the Rays at 255 for an average game. Colomé, however, even when he is not struggling as he did in the first couple innings, takes a lot of time between pitches. That's just the way he works still. There's a strike to Matt Joyce, and we have seen that, and apparently Eric Richards is the same way for the Angels.
Yeah, they definitely have slowed the pace down, especially with runners on, runners in scoring position.
In fact, Colomé, if you put all the pitchers in a pool, he might be the slowest between pitches. 26.3 seconds between pitches.
In the league, you're talking. Yeah, that's not a very good number as far as being timely.
You know, and that's an interesting argument. You know, some would say slow it down, don't let the game get ahead of you, make sure you know what you want to do. There's another argument that says you're better if you know what you want to do and you go out there and do it and force the issue.
And I think you can find a happy medium. You know, if you're a veteran guy and you've got a good idea of game planning, what you're trying to do here, how one pitch sets up the other, how sequencing works, then you can pick up the pace. If you're a younger guy still working your way through the game and learning what you need to do to be successful, then you pick a spot in between. You know, you don't have to rush and jump right back up there, but at the same time, you don't have to take all day either. I think there's a happy medium you can find.
Fastball to strike out Matt Joyce. Third strikeout for Colomé tonight. The second out here in the fourth inning. Well, it did seem, and we do have a quicker pace of games this year, which is welcome, I think, for most fans. I think they appreciate that, because the trend had gotten where hitters and pitchers were taking a lot of time. Both.
Well, yes. I mean, a lot of walking around. Now you start to think of a guy like Joey Butler. He's the hitting equivalent of Mark Burley. He just stands there ready to go.
Yep.
Staying right in the box. Ball one. Here we go.
He's one of our favorite players.
Yeah, because of that.
And the fact that he's hitting .340.
Doesn't hurt.
1-0 the count to Efrain Navarro. There's a strike. Used to be, sometimes they slow down on purpose. Sometimes they're instructed to do that, as we discussed. Don't let it get ahead of you and all that. Used to be you'd slow down. I remember Larry Durker at the end of his career had a tough shoulder to deal with. And he said he would take time between pitches just so his shoulder might stop hurting a little bit more. It was a pitch-by-pitch proposition there. And so he did get slower at the end of his career because it was painful between pitches to make that next pitch.
What did Kevin Jepson say in Seattle when he gave up the leadoff triple to Austin Jackson? Every pitch after that was max effort. So he said, I took a little bit more time in between pitches for recovery because I was throwing every pitch like it was my last.
Runner takes off. The pitch is a ball. Throw one hops in, and he is out at second base. Rays cut down. Giovatelli trying to steal, and that will retire the side. Rivera continues to put a stop to the opposing base running game. Rays lead 2-0.
The fourth inning, it is my pleasure to welcome in superstar Paula Abdul, our guest here at Tropicana Field for this Rays-Angels game. Paula, you're here for a great cause, right? The Home Run Challenge?
Here for Prostate Cancer Foundation and Home Run Challenge, keeping Dad in the game. This is my fourth season doing it, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. And it's a nice departure for me for all the other work that I do, and it's just been fun being able to go to all these different amazing ballparks.
June 15th through the 21st, Home Runs, PCF.org is where people can go to donate. Home Runs make money for the Pediatric Cancer Foundation.
And it all culminates on Father's Day, June 21st. But, Michael Milken's doing such amazing work. I feel honored and privileged to be able to tour around and raise money for more research.
You have so many great causes in your life, and it's amazing you have enough hours in the day to serve all those causes. But you've been with them for 4 years, right? Michael got you involved 4 years ago.
Yes, and I feel like in the past 5 days I've gone to 8 games, and I'm having fun. I've become the mascot wrangler.
Really?
Yeah, that's another thing to add to my
your list.
Absolutely.
We're going to need like an extra page now. When you were a little girl, Dodgers games, I would think, growing up in Southern California?
Absolutely. Amazing times. It always equates to such a wonderful family time.
We're going to take a look at your first pitch right here, and you got a little closer. You showed off some good moves on the way to the pitch.
Well, I didn't want to give the catcher a hard time. I wanted to go a little easy on him,
And he caught it well. It was a perfect pitch. Steve Geltz was our catcher, and of course on Fox, So You Think He Can Dance. And we're going to walk you back here, and we're going to take a look at some video, because Steve Geltz, the guy who caught your first pitch, also has a little dance move before his start in Miami. And tell me if you think Steve could potentially be a contestant on So You Think He Can Dance. We're going to wait for the next pitch here as Logan Forsythe bats with 1 out and 1 strike. All right, here's Steve Geltz, the guy you threw the pitch to before his start.
Okay.
It froze on us.
I saw a little bit of a hip move. And a shimmy, inverted.
Shimmy, inverted. What, does he have a chance?
He shouldn't quit his day job.
There's a good pick at first base by Albert Pujols for the second out. Paula, of course, forever a Laker girl. We've got the NBA Finals going on. One of the guys up in our booth is a huge Cavaliers fan. And do you have any thoughts before we let you go? Cavaliers, Game 4. I know your heart lies somewhere else, but taking on the Warriors.
I like both teams, but can we talk about the Lakers? And let's just give them so much love. Let's just love them up so that we can talk about the Lakers instead of the Cavaliers or Golden State Warriors.
There you go, guys. Paula Abdul here at Tropicana Field. Thank you, sir.
And don't forget to watch So You Think You Can Dance Monday nights on Fox at 8 p.m.
There you go. Monday nights, 8 p.m. on Fox. You'll see this beautiful lady. Thank you so much, Paula.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, you did your best trying to get Geltzy in there. With a little work, he could be there.
We know he's not afraid.
No, he's shown that in a number of situations.
And I think that Paula is a slight lean towards Golden State tonight. California thing, just a slight lean.
I got you.
You want to hurt?
She handled it pretty well. Didn't want to hurt your feelings.
Right. Wanted to keep the spotlight on the Lakers. Understood, but that's still a slight lean.
2 strikes to count to Souza, who is the difference in this game with his 2-run home run in the second. Apparently, their monitor had a little difficulty getting the full rendition of Steve Geltz, and I'm sure had she seen the beginning, I mean, she was impressed by like the reverse shimmy, but she didn't get the full performance. Had she seen that, I think her opinion might have been different. Strike 3 called on the outside corner. The Rays are up and down 1, 2, 3. So here's another look. Steve Geltz did get the kiss. top. Today we raise up for RCMA Leadership Academy Soccer Club. RCMA supports migrant farm families in Hillsborough County through quality child care, education, and activities like the Leadership Soccer Club, who won their first championship this fall. Team supported by Moving Forward Building Up program funded by the Rays. How do you raise up? In the 5th inning, Efren Navarro will lead it off. Navarro grounded out his first time. First pitch is a strike. He was up there when Giovatello was thrown out by Rivera. And are caught stealing. Rivera's now thrown out 12 of the last 20 base runners trying to steal with him behind the plate.
And he's approaching 40% for the season, which he's already 4th in Major League Baseball in caught stealing rate. Been getting a lot better as the season has gone on. And in that situation, Giovatello did not have a chance. Good pitch to handle, quick release, and he's throwing the ball with a ton of confidence right now.
Line drive going to be over the head of Cabrera. The other way into left center. Kiermaier over to make the pickup. And the leadoff hitter is aboard. It brings up the catcher, Chris Iannetta. Iannetta struck out his first time. One ball, no strikes. Blocked, and a nice job there by Rivera. 2-0. Well, you see the things, the runners he throws out and the job he does behind the plate, denying Navarro a chance to move up on a pitch like this.
In front of the plate.
Yep.
A breaking ball in front of the plate, and that's where it really starts to play in how many runs, that he may not be driving in with the bat, but how many runs is he preventing with all of the other things that he's doing behind the plate. And that's where that value comes in.
Ground ball, sharply hit, nice pickup. Out at second and out at first. Nicely done by the Rays infield, and it started with an outstanding pickup by the shortstop Cabrera.
Boy, you talk about body control, and that's what Asdrubal Cabrera has. This double play turn here by the Rays is gorgeous. Boy, the backhand, he backhanded that ball and was spinning all in one motion. That's the body control we're talking about. And then Forsythe, they got that done real quick.
Well, Cabrera had maintained from the first day in spring training that he wanted to play shortstop in that competition, could play it, and he has made that point over and over by the way he has played at shortstop, and that was perhaps exhibit A in his argument. A great play right there.
He's backhanding that ball and spinning towards the outfield before he comes up with the throw, not back towards the infield. It's just you just have such a feel for the position, how hard the ball was hit. He made that look too easy.
1-1 the count to Kabinsa, the third baseman. Young player made his major league debut last night. Count is 1-2. Out of Texas State in San Marcos, Texas. He was in the Atlanta organization originally. A ball, 2 strikes. And that's low. 2-2. Top of the order, Ibar's on deck. Cut and a miss. He strikes out Kubica. 4th strikeout of the night for Colomé. Here's another look at that double play. 2-0 Rays.
Fifth inning. The month of June is Raise Up for Kids, and even though school may be out for this summer, Evan Longoria is still encouraging students to keep the books out and continue reading. He went out to Jan Clemenis Flat Regional Library today to continue reading with the Rays. Read Your Way to the Ballpark program. It's the 3rd year that he's been doing it. The kids loved having him out reading books and doing all that. So it's not only great to have Longo back in the lineup, but still out in the community, right, guys?
You're absolutely right. Evan in the community, and that's a step forward. Reading with the Rays. A little bunt now by Cabrera, and he is out at first as Jubal Cabrera trying to bunt his way on to start this one, and Kubica throws him out.
Well, after those 2 runs the Rays pushed across in the 2nd inning, it's gone pretty quiet here. And Garrett Richards has started to settle in a little bit.
Yeah, that's 8 in a row he's retired. And 9 of 10, the only hit was the infield hit by Franklin following the home run by Souza Jr. Now Franklin bats again and takes a strike at the knees. Oh, 2 the count. And Franklin out on 3 pitches. Breaking ball. So 2 up, 2 down here. That's 4 strikeouts in the last 8 men he's faced.
You know, and here's the thing. We talk about Nick Franklin. Sometimes he'll start that lean down towards first base from the left side. That's where if you go with your softest off-speed pitch and keep it middle of the plate, middle away, all of a sudden he's starting to leak, and that ball's slower than what he's expected, and got to protect with 2, and you get the swing and a miss. You'll see more and more teams try to exploit that.
We never see him do that in BP.
No.
But we've seen him do it in games.
Yep.
There's a marked difference in his approach at times in games and in BP.
He stays very quiet in BP and puts on some good sessions. And then all of a sudden in the game, you see that body almost wanting to start to fall towards first as the swing starts. A lot of moving parts there.
Speaking of moving parts, the Rays bullpen busy. Brandon Gomes getting loose. High fly ball hit deep. Deep into right center. That ball bounds off the top of the wall. Rivera on his way to second with a double. Ball sliced a little bit on him, and that might have kept it in the ballpark because the wall just a little bit shorter, just to the left of where it hit.
Boy, that ball just above the belt, moving away from him, and Rivera, boy, he catches that ball crisply. And it's, yeah, I mean, you give it another 3-4 feet to the left, sneaks over that low wall.
So a long double, his 8th of the year. The Rays, 2 outs, suddenly have a man at second base for the top of the order, Kevin Kiermaier. There's a strike. Kevin looking for his first hit tonight. Two. That takes care of Kiermaier. He's out on strikes, and we will head into the 6th. 2-0 Tampa Bay. A 2-0 lead, and it came on one swing of the bat from Steven Souza Jr. His 12th home run of the year. That on an 0-2 pitch, by the way. And Alex Colomé, with just over 70 pitches, has limited the Angels to 3 hits and a couple walks, but no runs. And it took them a couple of innings to settle in a bit.
Yeah, the first couple of innings, you know, some bad misses and not very good counts, but you're right, he's settled in. He's gotten some help from his defense. You think about catch and throw by Rene Rivera. You think about that double play, Cabrera to Forsythe. But he has absolutely looked much better the last few innings.
He'll start the 6th inning by facing the top of the order, Eric Ibar, who bunts foul. Ibar, who had walked to start the game, line to right his last time. Trout will be next, and then Pujols. Chop, that's a foul ball outside of first. 2 strikes. Gomes continues to throw in the bullpen up the right field line.
Well, you feel like any base runner and Brandon Gomes in the game.
And that pretty much has been the standard operating procedure for the Rays. Not reluctant to go to the bullpen beyond the 5th with the lead. Back to the mound. And that's out number 1. Ibar retired. And here's Mike Trout headed to the plate. Trout had an infield hit in the 3rd after striking out in the 1st inning. Ball 1. Rays starting this day a game and a half behind New York. Two and 0. Blue Jays have won 8 in a row. They are running 3rd. Rays a game and a half back to start the day. Toronto 3 out, then Baltimore 4.5, and Boston 6.5. Red Sox playing the Orioles in Baltimore, with the Orioles leading 5-4. That game's in the top of the 6th. 3-0 to Trout. The Orioles got off to a 4-0 lead, but now it's 5-4 Baltimore. Albert Pujols on deck. It's a strike. 3-1. Trout and Pujols hit home runs off Colome on the first day of the month in Anaheim. And there's a long one. 3-1 pitch, and he's belted this one out. Trout's 17th home run of the year. He got a fastball and hit it out to make it 2-1.
You can't excuse the pitch by Alex Colome, but this is what he's dealing with. He knows if he gives up a base runner, he's coming out of the game. And so all of a sudden you fall behind a guy and you got to throw him a strike, 3-1, and you're like, okay, I'll throw a strike, take my chances. Well, maybe not the best of moves against Mike Trout, who gets him again.
So that's going to be the end of the evening for Alex Colome. 5 1/3. He gives up a run on the home run by Mike Trout. So Colome will depart leading 2-1. 2-1. We're in the top half of the sixth. Rays lead. Alex Colomé has departed after giving up the home run to Mike Trout. And in his place, Brandon Gomes with 1 out in the inning. And he will be facing Albert Pujols. Gomes on for the 20th time this year. And the first pitch is a strike. You know, the point you made is an interesting point there about Colomé falling behind. It's a 3-1 count. He gave him the fastball and Trout hit it out. But I think the point that you're making is that it might go to mindset.
It absolutely could. And, you know, who knows exactly how the Rays were going to run this inning. We have our own ideas and thoughts, but we don't know. But it does open up the opportunity to talk about the situation where, you know, as a pitcher, I think if you want to be out there competing, you want to never be taken out of the game.
Up the middle and a grab there. Throw to first is wide. Franklin off the bag to take the throw, but a great effort there. Forsythe coming up with that ball up the middle, had him played that way.
Boy, deep as he's able to flag that down, and that's a tough throw across your body. Kind of, it's tough to open up the hips and get that throw accurate. But anyway, getting back to that point, it's like the more we watch this, just around the game of baseball in general, the more of the mindset that I'm starting to have, where it's when you go out there to start an inning, if you're going to come out or if you're going to go to the bullpen, the first base runner, then just go to the bullpen and don't even let him go out there, because you end up going out there, you know what's going on, and so you go out there and you're pitching for self-preservation. You may not be pitching the smartest, but you're pitching to stay in the game, and to stay in the game, I got to get this guy out. If I walk him or throw a ball here, I'm coming out of the game anyway. So maybe I give him a pitch that's a little bit too hittable. I don't think that's the case in Colomé's case, because if don't go 3-0, you can pin that right back on the pitcher of you put yourself in a 3-1 count, and I get it. But I think anymore, the way that we see that, a guy will go out, start an inning, get an out, and then give up a base hit or a walk or an error, and he gets pulled. Well, if you're going to go to the bullpen as soon as a guy gives up a base runner, then just go to the bullpen before that inning starts and give that guy out in the pen a clean inning to work with.
Yeah, and your point is that it will affect the mindset of the pitcher.
It can.
Yeah,
it can. You can put yourself out there and see that you may, especially if you're younger, do things differently based on knowing what could or maybe happen here. Maybe I don't throw that 3-2 slider and I go with the 3-2 heater because I think I can throw that for a strike, and if I yank the 3-2 slider, well, I'm out of the game.
Yep.
So, you can see some scenarios where a young pitcher may not do what he's been doing all game because the fear of getting pulled out so quick.
Yeah, and his instinct and desire is to stay in the game all night long.
Yeah, and I'll take my chances with my heater instead of throwing the right pitch.
2-2 here on Cole Calhoun, who holds it first. Gomes now in relief of Colomé. And a liner into center. That's going to fall in front of Kiermaier. And now with third base open, Pujols advances to third, and Longoria did the best he could to get back there and attempt to make a play. Just couldn't recover to get back there.
And we'll have to take a look at that. Let's see where Evan Longoria is. You see him out there at short. He already starting to back up. But Albert Pujols catches him off guard. And that throw from Kevin Kiermaier a little bit wide, and by the time Longoria is able to corral it and try to dive back towards Pujols, there's just no chance for him. Albert Pujols, you don't expect him to go to third on that, but he saw that it was unoccupied. He took a chance, and it worked out.
So it's first and third for the Angels. One out. Here's Giovatello. Pitch is low, covered up by Rivera. Votella has been very tough in tough situations. One of the reasons he's up in the 5th spot. He takes a strike. It's 1-1.
And we know that he will go the other way. And with Nick Franklin holding the runner on over there, Cole Calhoun and Forsythe shading up the middle, he's got a big hole on that right side, as you can see right here. A lot of room there. And he's that type of hitter.
Two and one. Votella lined a fastball into right field last night for his hit. He was 1 for 3. And sends a fly ball into center. Kiermaier sets up. He's got the momentum to catch. Pujols headed to the plate, and he is out at the plate. Wow, what a throw by Kiermaier, and the tag by Rivera to get Pujols. You can see Kiermaier setting up out there in center field. Socha wants to maybe take another look. He's out asking for a little time to get word. But Pujols is out at the plate. They're not going to challenge it, and the Rays lead 2-1. Defensive work. Kiermaier in center field gathering his momentum to cut down Pujols at the plate.
Now you can see it right here. Everything moving towards home plate. The strong throw, one hop right on the money, and then the sweet tag by Rene Rivera. That was as well done as possible, I'll tell you. And I'm going to tell you something else. You know, when Pujols took third base on that previous play, Kiermaier's throw was a little bit wide, and there was a great shot at him. He was not happy with himself on that throw that Pujols was able to get over there. Well, get a little redemption, another opportunity, and he did not miss. You see right here the frustration as Pujols was able to sneak over and get to third base. He's not real happy with that result. Well, the very next hitter, he gets a chance, and don't try him twice.
Well, he nailed it. Oof. On that throw from center field. He got himself into great position. Pujols will take care of this ground ball off the bat of Joey Butler.
And you know what, Dwayne? That's the key on that. You know, you catch that ball flat-footed with no momentum, it's going to be a lot closer, or you don't get them. You made a great point, and for all those young outfielders watching at home, that ball goes up in the air, and you start timing. You start to build that momentum. Look at him, everything moving directly towards home plate. He catches it in stride, no wasted movement, and a strong, accurate throw.
Yeah, that was textbook. You couldn't have done it any better.
Nope.
Evan Longoria in the box. Pops it up. Right side. Foul ball. Pujols makes the catch on this one. So a couple quick outs. 3 pitches, 2 outs.
Number 7, David DeJesus.
Here's David DeJesus. Ball, no strikes. Kevin Jepson up in the bullpen now for the Rays. Colomé worked 5 1/3, gave up 4 hits and a run. Walked 2, struck out 4. The run came on the Trout home run. 80 pitches for Colomé tonight. Tap right side. Pujols with the toss. Richards covers, and the Rays are out 1-2-3. We go to the 7th in a 2-1 Rays lead.
As we head to the 7th inning, special night for the Rays, special night for the University of Tampa baseball team. National champs for 2 of the last 3 years, joined by the associate head coach, Sam Militello. Sam, first of all, congratulations. What a year it was for you guys. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, thank you. It was an awesome year. These guys really, at the end, really gelled together and made a terrific run through the playoffs. And we couldn't be happier for the group of guys. They're a special group.
The excellence at that school is amazing. We mentioned 2 out of 3, now up to 7, right?
Yes, we have 7. It's a tradition that was started when Tino Martinez went there, and Joe Ursula and I were fortunate enough to try to carry it on, and now we're trying to pass it along to these young men here.
We're watching a little BP today. We just saw a guy leave the yard. That had to be a special deal for your kids, huh?
They love it. They love it. We've had the opportunity to do this a couple times, but these guys, they get on this field and have some fun and try to hit some balls out of here, and they have a blast.
Matt Joyce, a local product as well, leads off this inning. So, final thing, we have 5 drafted kids, is that right?
Yes.
A lot of great talent here that should be starting the professional career soon.
Yes, we're excited. To send these guys off with a national championship, and then 5 of these guys are getting to live their dream and continue playing baseball. What an ending for these guys.
Well, Sam, congratulations, guys. Sam Militello, the entire UT Spartan baseball team here, national champs 2 of the last 3 years. And a chance to enjoy it here at Tropicana Field. Back to you.
Yeah, we Congratulate Sam for doing that. He's born in Tampa and spent some time with the Yankees in the early 90s, and now success there with the Spartans. Way to go, guys. Proud of you for another great season, and Sam Militello doing a great job.
You know, the one thing you can say is they know how to finish.
Yes,
they get
do,
there,
indeed.
and then they just finish it off.
Yep.
A juggernaut here in Tampa.
Three 3-0 to count to Joyce. And Kevin Jepson on the hill for the Rays. 3-1 now. 29th appearance for Jepson. So the Rays at the end of 6 innings with a 1-run lead and a 2-1 ball game. Joyce pops it toward the left field line. That's going to be foul and will be out of the reach of David DeJesus to take the count to 3-2.
Well, the question here boils down to, can the Rays bullpen do it again? Covered 4 innings last night, a 1-run lead, and got it done. Tonight they're going to have to cover 3 2/3 innings. Same situation.
We'll see another 3-2 pitch to Joyce. Hot shot foul outside of first. Efrain Navarro will be next, and then the catcher Chris Iannetta. Jepson worked the 7th inning last night. He came on to face Joyce and got him on a fly ball to center. Opens the 7th tonight against Joyce and is 3-2 with him. It's popped up. Long run. Cabrera full head of steam. Can't get there. Just a little short with that big shift on. There was a lot of ground to cover. And the Rays hoping that one might have just enough hang time. Just off the end of the glove.
An outfielder's glove, which would make it difficult for everything else. But in that situation, that would be a catch. He had to heat right too, because he's shaded up the middle at shortstop and went all the way to the low wall.
This will be the 9th pitch of this at bat coming. And a popper again, foul, and this one well out of play. So Jepson in here. Interesting matchup. These two guys traded for each other. It was Joyce and Jepson exchanging uniforms. (3-2), and it's too low. The fastball down, and a leadoff walk in the 7th inning. Well, here's what's coming up tomorrow on Rays Live, the pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. The Rays take on the White Sox. Orestes will break down Jose Abreu and Joey Butler against left-handed pitching. I'll tell you, he's in there against righties and lefties these days and doing a great job.
You know, when he was coming into the ball game last night, he was hitting .429 against lefties, but still over .330 against righties. So he's been an equal opportunity offender of pitchers.
Has another hit tonight, 1 for 3. 1 strike to count on Navarro. Just missed there. Pretty close with the fastball. It's 1-1. Navarro with a pretty even approach to hitting up there. Make him tough.
And you think about his last at bat, getting on top of a fastball and just lining it out into left field.
Joyce back in at first. Joyce walked on a 10-pitch at bat to start the 7th. It's 2-1. Runner goes. The pitch is fouled out of play. And the count goes to 2-2.
Hey! Hey!
Two the count to Navarro. Down to third, backhanded, knocked down by Longoria, no play. He kept it on the infield. Joyce stops at second. That ball gets by Longoria. It's trouble enough on the what turns out to be an infield hit.
Yeah, consider this a small victory for the Rays, because as a left-handed hitter, slapping that ball the other way that Navarro is, and it's going up the third base line like that, you're right. It squeezes by him. You're talking at minimum it's second and third with nobody out. Now you keep the double play in order. There's still options here.
Jim Hickey heads to the mound, 2 men on with nobody out. The Rays cut down the potential tying run at the plate in the 6th inning on the fly ball to center by Giovitella, and a great throw by Kiermaier, cutting down Albert Pujols at the plate. And now the Rays back in trouble in the 7th. A walk to Joyce and then the base hit by Navarro. Iannetta struck out in the 2nd inning and grounded into that double play in the 5th. Started on the outstanding pickup by Cabrera, and then he immediately went to second to begin the double play. Iannetta fouls this one right off Rivera. That's a strike.
None too pleased either. It's every night.
It's amazing back there. You know, we see him take a pounding nightly. And Ed Hickox, the plate umpire a few years ago, pretty much missed the entire season. Took a shot like that and a concussion. I think it cost him practically all of the 2009 season with a concussion. One and one. Rays are going to get Brad Boxberger up in the bullpen. Cut and a miss. Iannetta now down 1-2.
Saw it last night. Same thing. Kevin Jepson, so much of the fastball and the curveball. Now just starting to mix in that changeup a little bit more. That was a big one there. It flips the count heavily into his favor.
Well, there were times when he was with the Angels when they thought he might have been fastball heavy with that great arm. And we have seen here in the early part of the year pretty much a fastball hard curveball combination. But the last 2 or 3 times out especially, we've seen that changeup in the mix.
And if you've got 2+ pitches, you can get away with that as a reliever. You're not going through the lineup, but usually not even one time through the lineup. Guys aren't going to see that much, but now back-to-back nights, you've got a third toy. It's a good pitch. Start sprinkling that in.
And there is strike 3 call. Iannetta, again, an off-speed pitch. He got him on the changeup. So he gets the catcher, Iannetta, looking.
Well, how about the location? It's one thing to have the arm speed and to throw that pitch. It's another to put it in that spot. Well done.
Well, there's a frustrated catcher, Iannetta, back to the dugout, and that's exactly what you were talking about there. Sprinkling a couple of changeups in a crucial situation to get that first out.
And it serves notice to their dugout and to the hitters coming up. Oh, by the way, he's broke out the changeup too. Something else to think about.
He starts Kyle Kubica away with a fastball off the plate. Back to the mid-90s fastball.
Yeah, you'll get a scouting report on the pitcher. Hey, what's he got? He's fastball, slider, occasional changeup, but he's not been throwing it. So just focus on that fastball, slider. Well, then all of a sudden you see a few, and everybody knows, oh, he is throwing it. Now we've got to account for 3 pitches.
Yeah, that's an entirely different situation. And the changeup here, the last 2 hitters have, it's been a big pitch.
Dare you say changeup heavy? Got complete flip of the script.
We've gotten back even here.
Well, he's done it well enough that now you're not sure. That fastball has now gained a mile an hour or 2.
Two balls and a strike. Trying to pitch around the walk and the single. Three and one. The Angels had a big threat following the Trout home run in the 6th. Right back threatening in the 7th inning. And that's a strike. Fastball takes the count full.
You can only wonder what Kyle Kubica was looking for.
3-1. Okay, if you're surprised by the changeup, you're surprised. Fastball. 3-2. Fouls it back. Hard stuff again.
Yeah, a little bit tardy on that one. That changeup will help do that, on top of the fact that Jepson's fastball, it's explosive anyway. It may register at that 93 to 95 range, but the way that he jumps at the hitter and the ball jumps out of his hand, it can at times appear to be much harder.
Ground ball right side, out of the reach of Forsythe. Souza with the pickup. Joyce heads to the plate, and the throw not in time this time. Joyce scores, and the game is tied at 2. Kubica got it just out of the reach of Forsythe, and the game is tied. Navarro winds up at 3rd.
Well, Souza trying to keep this throw low and hard, potential cut. You're going to let it go to the plate because you've got a chance to get that tying run, and it doesn't work out this time.
That's going to be it for Jepson. Back in a moment. Two men on in a 2-2 ball game. If you're sketching out your plans for the weekend, be sure to include baseball on Sunday. Kids 14 and under receive an Etch-a-Sketch presented by Sagicor Life Insurance Company while supplies last. Bring the whole team and introduce the kids to an old-time favorite called 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Brad Boxberger makes his 25th appearance. Inherits men at first and third with one out.
Well, a couple of thoughts here that come to mind. Ground ball double play, and if you can't get that, you need the strikeout. So tall order here against Eric Ibar, but Brad Boxberger's done it before.
Ibar 0 for 2 with a walk in this game. The pitch is outside. Navarro's the runner at third. Kubica the runner at first.
And Ibar had an opportunity in last night's game with runners on first and second, down by a run against Kevin Jepson, ironically enough, grounded out to second base. So he'll be looking to get something done here.
Swing and a miss. He went up for that one.
Over anxious. That ball not anywhere near the strike zone.
A 1-1 count. Ground ball right side. Out at second and no throw back to first. The go-ahead run scores. Navarro crossing the plate, and Ibar makes it a 3-2 ball game.
And just was not hit hard enough. Kind of rolled over by Ibar. Takes some of the steam off that ground ball, and the Rays really had no chance.
Kubica forced here at second. Ibar gets the RBI with Navarro crossing the plate, making it 3-2. Now Ibar's at first with 2 outs. And the hitter is Mike Trout. Runner takes off speed pitch, throw down, not in time. Ibar with his 4th stolen base of the year. He was bobbing around a little bit, getting up on the bag, and Dana DeMuth was making sure before he came out with the safe call.
Right here, tag applied. Does he come off? stays in contact, and I'll tell you, he picked the right pitch to run on. That was a changeup by Boxberger.
1-1 to Trout. Two and one. Trout opened the scoring for the Angels with his 17th home run of the year. That came in the 6th inning. Liner into left. That's going to get Ibar home. Trout heads for second, and he is safe, arriving ahead of the throw. So he runs that into a double, and that makes it 4-2 Los Angeles.
How about the pitch recognition by Trout? Change up. Look at him. Gets the front foot down. Everything is still in sync. Not fooled at all. Look at that. Just right on that pitch. You know, he's got that little leg kick for his timing mechanism. And with the changeup, you're trying to get that foot down early. And not to be. He was right in sync. And on top of it, got out to second base for a double.
So it's now 4-2. That's going to be it for Boxberger. Back in a moment. Here in the top of the 7th inning. Preston Gilmet will follow. It's been Colomé, Gomes, Jepson, and Boxberger. And now Gilmet inherits Trout at second base.
And hopefully Preston here can keep it at a 2-run deficit. You still have 3 shots left. Not without the question that you could still come back in this game, but you've got to limit it right here. You got to be done.
Albert Pujols 1 out of 3 on the night. Gilmet gets the count running in his favor. Now it's 1-1.
Not going to blow you away with the stuff, but he's going to give you a little deception with the delivery. You're going to try to drop that throwing arm, the throwing hand, create an angle, and then work over the top.
Foul back. Now 1-2. Well, the Angels have put up a 3 spot in the 7th inning. With 2 outs, they have Trout at second. Kubitsa, Ibar, and Trout with the runs batted in. So the Rays down by 2 here in the 7th. The Orioles batting in the bottom of the 8th, leading the Red Sox 6-5. Fly ball center field. Kiermaier waiting, and he's got it to retire the side. Bottom of the 7th inning coming up. It's 4-2 LA. Seventh inning, Rays down by a couple. On this date in 1990, Nolan Ryan pitches at the time his unprecedented 6th career no-hitter, striking out 14 in a 5-0 win over the Oakland A's in Oakland. First to pitch a no-hitter for 3 separate teams, and the first to throw a no-hitter in 3 separate decades. He was 43 at the time. Was his 6th no-hitter. Talking about him before the game, he finished with over 5,700 strikeouts.
Remarkable. I mean, remarkable. You think about getting to 5,000 strikeouts. You're averaging 250 punchies a year for 20 years.
Yep. He had 5,714 strikeouts. And lasted long enough. He had 7 pairs of fathers and sons he struck out in the major leagues. First pitch, Logan Forsythe shoots it into right, and it's caught by Calhoun for the first out in the bottom half of the 7th inning. This game tonight and all season, Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Souza hit the home run in the 2nd inning that at the time gave the Rays a 2-0 lead, and that lead held up until the 7th when the Angels scored 3 in the top half of this inning. Pitch is down. Speaking of no-hitters, Ed Hickox was behind the plate when Matt Garza threw the only no-hitter in Rays history. That's a strike. It's 1-1. Game in July of 2010 against the Tigers. High fly ball. That's into left. Navarro settles under it.
Tell you what about the job that Garrett Richards has done here? Yeah, both pitchers, the first couple of innings, a little wobbly, into some jams, into some bad counts. Boy, he has locked it in.
Well, since Souza's home run, just 2 hits, the infield hit by Franklin and a double by Rivera. And look at the pitch count there. 5 pitches last inning, 2 outs on 4 pitches so far in the 7th. Foul back, strike 1. The last 12 Rays hitters had seen a combination of 28 pitches. That's efficiency.
That's taking being ready to hit to an extreme.
Now 0-2. The Rays with a couple runs on the home run, a walk, and 4 hits tonight allowed by Richards. One and 2. Joe Smith loosening in the Angels bullpen. Richards is just over 90 pitches. Just over 90 pitches, 2 outs into the 7th. That includes 27 pitches in the 2nd inning.
It wasn't he up around 60 after 3?
Yeah, he
almost
had 22
20
in the 3rd.
Yeah.
So he had 61 pitches through 3.
Kind of a remarkable recovery, and like you said, extremely efficient.
Giamatello, the second baseman, handles this. A 1-2-3 7th. On to the 8th. 4-2 Los Angeles. On a night when Paula Abdul got a chance to spend some time with Steve Geltz, we'll take a look at our game summary brought to you by Gold and Diamond Source. It's 4-2 at the end of 7, a 3-run top of the 7th, changing things a bit after Steven Souza Jr. had hit a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 2nd. Cole Calhoun opens the 8th. And the pitch is a strike. Calhoun 1 for 3. He's singled in the 6th. One and 1. Preston Guillemette got the final out in the 7th inning. It's a foul ball outside of first. Alex Colomé gave up a run in 5 1/3. He was touched for the home run by Mike Trout. Left after that. Combs pitched 2/3. Jepson a third of an inning, and Boxberger a third. Two on Calhoun.
It took a while for that Angel offense to get going, but once Trout popped that home run, things started to fall into place.
Upstairs, 2-2. Trout with a 3-hit night. 2-2 to Calhoun. He is out on strikes or not. Apparently hit the dirt. It's a foul ball. Rivera came up with it, but it hit the dirt first.
And Gilmet with the off-speed delivery here. You see it like split. Oh, that much.
And a cut and a miss. Fastball strikes him out. One away in the 8th.
Second baseman, Johnny.
Well, after the off speed, that 89 looks a lot harder to Cole Calhoun, at least according to that swing.
Now the second baseman, Johnny Giavotella. He looks at a strike. Giavotella hit the fly ball to center field in the 6th inning that Kiermaier caught and sized up. Made the throw to the plate to cut down Pujols. Big play at the time. There's a base hit through the hole. Giavotella has his second hit of the game. 2 for 4.
Designated hitter, Matt Joyce.
We'll give the Angels 10 hits on the night. 1 on, 1 out of the 8th for Matt Joyce. It was Joyce who had that 10-pitch at bat to open the 7th inning that started the trouble when he finally drew a walk, a leadoff walk. The pitch is a strike. Baltimore won. The Orioles beat Boston 6-5. Two strikes the count. Navarro's on deck. One ball, 2 strikes. That one dropped low and was taken by Joyce. Did he go this time? He did. Doubled up on that. And Joyce is out on strikes.
Well, that one a little bit better. You know, that split by Gilmet has got some real good tumbling action. And as it bottoms out of the zone, Matt Joyce takes it just a hair too far. That was close. That one went against him.
Efren Navarro. Navarro 2 hits tonight and a run scored. And a strike call. Navarro recently turned 29. Ground ball, and that's off the glove of Forsythe. Into center. Giavatelli goes to third, and Navarro has his 3rd hit of the game. It's 1st and 3rd, 2 gone.
Well, he hit this ball hard, and Forsythe, the ball gets hit hard like that, your range is limited. He did everything that he could. More trouble here for the Rays.
Sionetta 0 for 3 tonight. Gilmette's pitch is too low. A couple strikeouts and a couple hits for Gilmette here in this inning. At the last out in the 7th when Pujols lifted a fly ball to center. Ground ball. It's Cabrera short. 2 hits, 2 men left. We go to the bottom of the 8th, 4-2, Los Angeles. By a couple runs to the Angels. Rays fans, every Thursday will be Throwback Rays Day, brought to you by Chrysler. Submit the best vintage photo of yourself by using the hashtag Throwback Rays.
Leading off the 8th inning for the Rays, first baseman number 2, Nick Franklin.
Joe Smith, the veteran right-hander, makes his 26th appearance.
Well, 24 strikeouts and 23 2/3. Holding opponents to a 230 average. He's going to be working from the first base side of the rubber, and he comes down. Not a true submariner, but close. Deep sidearm.
Garrett Richards finished strong. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 2 runs, 94 pitches after he made 61 through the front 3. Now Franklin takes a pitch away, a fastball. 1 ball, no strikes. One and one. Franklin behind in the count, 1 and 2. Richards pretty strong indeed, and Franklin strikes out. It's the first out of the 8th. Richards retired 16 of the last 17 men he faced, and Smith picks up where he left off.
Well, you know what? And he kept taking this fastball further and further off the plate, trying to get Nick Franklin to chase, and that's exactly what he did.
There's Rene Rivera. Pitch is a strike. Rivera doubled in the 5th. He just missed a home run, and he was the one guy who did reach in the last 17 hitters Richards faced. Oh, 2 the count. It's a ball and 2 strikes. And that takes care of Rivera. He's out on strikes. It's 9 strikeouts by Angels pitching.
Well, Joe Smith, he gets so much movement. That little sidearm sinker, not even exactly where he wanted it, but effective nonetheless as it dives down and in below the swing of Rivera. Well, just not easy to deal with a right-handed, as a right-handed hitter with that arm angle, tough. As a lefty, you spend the first pitch or two trying to pick up that release point. One thing that remains constant, head on target.
Roller to first for Kiermaier. Pujols makes the play unassisted. That's a 1-2-3-8. On to the 9th inning, 4-2 Los Angeles. Sports is brought to you by Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. When cancer strikes, strike back with CyberKnife. By Kubota. For more information, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com. And by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. On to the ninth inning tonight. The third game of this series between the Rays and the Los Angeles Angels. The Angels scoring late with a run in the sixth and 3 in the seventh to take a 4-2 lead. Kyle Kubica leads off the ninth. He singled in a run in the 3-run seventh. Preston Gilmet starts and misses with the fastball. 1-0. And 1. It's Houston Street up in the bullpen for the Angels.
Well, the Rays have gotten to him before. Going to have to get him a couple of times here tonight if Gilmet can hold these Angel hitters scoreless one more half.
Gilmet with an inning and a third under his belt, a couple hits and a couple strikeouts.
A little bit of everything, which is about what he gives you out of that delivery of his.
And the important thing is no runs so far.
Yes. It gives you a shot. I mean, you're talking about 2 runs, get a base runner, and 1 mistake.
Full count. And there's ball 4. The Rays found themselves in trouble in the 7th when they walked the leadoff man, and a leadoff walk now in the 9th. Eric Ibar, the leadoff man. Xavier Cedeno up for the Rays in the bullpen. Swing gonna miss. We got Ibar to chase. Keeping an eye on Kubica. Kubica takes off. The pitch is fouled. Out of play. Ibar down 0-2.
Angels still fighting for every run that they feel that they can get. Put a man in motion, a guy that can handle the bat at the plate.
Cut and a miss, so Gilmet stayed up and got Ibar to chase again and strikes him out.
Yeah, 2 of the 3 pitches up there were swung through. And the other one, you've got that little hit and run going, so you shorten the stroke and he's able to foul it off. But swinging away, you see that ball up around the letters and you can't reach it. Looks like you should be able to, but
so here's Mike Trout The pitch is a strike to him. Trout with an infield single, a home run, and a double after striking out his first time. And he takes that one for a ball, 1-1. Oakland beat Texas. It's a 7-0 final. Texas had closed to within a couple games of Houston in the West. 2-1. Los Angeles came in running third in the West, 4 back. So they're trying to pick up ground on Texas and Houston. Right now, Texas 2.5 back. One on, one out of the ninth. Fly ball back into right with some carry. Souza will go to the wall for it and make the catch. Back to first goes Kubica. Trout hit the ball a long way, but room for Souza to make the grab.
Well, Mike Trout is so powerful on those balls down in the zone, which is where it was. And he pushed it out there. Souza a catch. And bounce into that wall out in right field.
Albert Pujols is 1 for 4. He got a base hit in the 6th inning. Takes a strike. Gilmet has been up with that fastball and getting strikes either called or swinging up there in the 9th inning.
And then you can imagine how that split finger plays off of that fastball up. Not that.
High shot deep to left. All the way to the wall, and that one is gone. Pujols connects on a pitch up there and hits the 2-run home run. So for Pujols, his 17th home run of the year. Kubica scores in front of him, and it's 6-2 Los Angeles.
Just away, about thigh high, and that man right there is just too strong. Gets out, gets the head out, and gets just enough of it to get it a row or two into the stands in left center.
That's it for the Rays right-hander. Back with a new pitcher in a moment. Again tonight, each hitting home runs, and it's 6-2 Los Angeles. Coming up on Rays Live, the postgame presented by Checkers. Todd Narestis will anchor the coverage from left field. We'll hear the Kevin Cash press conference, and Emily Austin will be along with interviews from the clubhouse. Xavier Cedeno on to match up against Cole Calhoun. So 2 innings for Gilmet, and he gives up 2 runs on the 2-run blast by Pujols. There's a fastball for a strike. Twelve hits allowed by Rays pitching, 6 runs. 5 of those 6 in the last 2 2/3.
Yeah, uncharacteristic. You know, this is Rays tonight here, jumped out to an early 2-0 lead. Colome got through 5 innings unscathed, gave up a home run, 1 out into the 6th. He comes out of the game, and then the Angels, well, taking the lead and tacked on. Now lead by 4. All late. And on the other side, the Rays, after those 2 early runs, have not been able to do much of anything. Garrett Richards got on a great roll.
Boy, he did indeed. 16 of his last 17, and then Smith came on for a 1-2-3-8. Into center field, Kiermaier will have to play it on 1 hop. Calhoun picks up his 2nd hit of the night. And Johnny Giavotella, who is 2 for 4, now about to step in. Giavotella takes the pitch high. Pujols with the home run here in the 9th. He came into this game tied with Mickey Mantle on the all-time home run list, and he is just past him to take over the 16th spot with 537 home runs. Mantle with 536. 1-1 to count on a foul ball by Giavotella. Tell you, Pujols has been tough in the season series against the Rays. Rays will be glad not to see those 2 guys again.
And it seems like with Pujols, it's been every game. You know, it wasn't like he loaded up early or came on late. I mean, every game he seems to have done something to hurt the Rays.
Deep short, great pickup, throw to second, not in time. Calhoun beats the throw in, and another great pickup by Cabrera to make the play. Even to entertain the idea that you might get an out there. So Giavotella is aboard. So Matt Joyce due, and he's going to be lifted for C.J. Cron. So a couple hits surrendered by Cedeno. Ball, no strikes. Shot foul toward the bullpen. Nice little pickup down there in the protective mode.
And that was appreciated because that ball was hit hard. Getting some thanks right there.
All in a night's work.
And you got to position yourself properly. You can't set up behind the catcher for fear of getting clipped by the pitcher warming up down there. It'll be off center, but quick enough to your right that you can cover that. Not an easy job.
Play the angles.
It's all about angles.
2-1 to count on Crone. Now 2-2. Cedeno, the 6th Rays pitcher. Into the dirt, blocked, and the count is full. Well, the Mets, on the heels of the San Francisco no-hitter, beat the Giants 5-4 tonight on a walk-off base hit by Michael Kadire. Down to third. Longoria's throw to Franklin in time. So 2 runs on the home run by Pujols. 6-2 LA. Dominated the last few innings of this game to grab this lead. Saturday, baseball night in America returns to Fox with an AL East showdown. The Yankees square off against the Orioles. Coverage begins Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Fox. Houston Street out there now for the Angels, making his 24th appearance. He is 2-2.
Well, has the 17 saves, but this not a save situation. And from time to time, you see closers struggle in this role. We'll see.
Well, the first pitch to Joey Butler is low. Butler, 1 hit tonight. Two balls, no strikes. Well, the Rays beat Street out in Los Angeles. The home run Kiermaier turned out to be the difference in that game as he connected off Street. In that 10-inning game, the Rays won 6-5. Into right field. That's going to fall for a base hit. And Butler is on to start the bottom of the 9th inning. Rays put the leadoff hitter on base. And that's the first time that's happened tonight.
Now that's how you get something going. Joey Butler using the other side of the field once again. He stays inside that baseball nicely. Lines that ball out into right field. Cole Calhoun was playing deep. So that ball's going to fall in front. And here we go.
Evan Longoria. There's a strike. Evan 0 for 3. Good cut. And he's down 0-2. Street wants to talk it over with Ionetta ahead of Longoria, 2 strikes. Well, the Rays with a man on are in need of base runners. Two. And ball outside. Street making his first appearance in this series. Again with a 4-run lead. It's David DeJesus on deck. And the pitch in and he fouls it. Close for ball 3 and the count is full. Kevin 1 of 4 in his career against Houston Street. That hit is a home run. And he fouls this one, forcing another 3-2 pitch.
Well, he's fought him all the way from 0-2 on 2 very good pitches by Houston Street to now to full. Going to force him out over the plate here. Should get something pretty good to hit. Boy, it's all base runners at this point. Anything you can do to reach.
Tune, it's skied to center. Trout makes the catch.
He enticed Evan out of the zone. Threw him a slider, and it was down, and he got the swing. And yeah, you can understand Evan's frustration. He realizes that was ball 4, not a pitch that you're going to be able to do much with, and not a strike.
David DeJesus. Oh for 3 tonight and 0 for 3 in his career against Street. Ball, no strikes. Foul back. Street in here with a 4-run lead. He hasn't pitched on the entire road trip for the Angels. They started and had a rough stop in New York against the Yankees.
Tough to stay sharp. Throw so many bullpens, little touch and feel work here and there, but you also have to be available every single night since you're the closer.
Down to second base goes Butler. The count is 2-1. Indifference on the call on the move up. In fact, his last outing was that Wednesday game when Kiermaier hit the home run in the 10th inning on him. Fly ball lifted into center. Trout is there for that one. And the Rays down to their final out.
Second baseman, number 11, Logan Forsythe.
And Logan Forsythe will try to keep this one going. Logan walked and scored on Souza's home run in the second inning. Otherwise 0 for 2. One ball, no strikes. Fastball from Street in the upper 80s. Uh, 2-0.
Well, he relies part deception, part knowing the hitter has been around for a long time, has an idea, strengths and weaknesses of everybody. What he does well, moving the ball around, little slider. But yeah, he's not your typical come in and blow you away type of closer.
This one's skied to right field. Calhoun is under it, and this game is history. No runs, a hit, and a man left for the Rays in the bottom of the 9th.